The world is changing fast, and AI tools just keep getting better and better and better. This is your opportunity to right now build a business using AI tools and make at least $10,000 a month. You can do this today, and I'm going to show you 5 different ways that you can start a business or agency that can get up to at least $10,000 a month. And I'm going to show you every step of that process. I'm going to go through these one by one and stick to the end of the video so you can see my very best idea that is making the most money right now with a real example of somebody making over $100,000 a month right now using only AI tools. Can't wait to show you what this looks like, so let's jump right in. All right, so the first agency that I'm gonna recommend that you can start, where you can start making money using AI tools, is creating thumbnails. Now, why I think this is a good opportunity right now, and a lot of these ideas are time sensitive. As these AI tools get better and better and better, these opportunities will fade. Now, I don't think they're going to fade away completely. There's going to be a lot of people that say, oh, people are just going to use these AI tools themselves and create their own thumbnails and do these other things, right, that I'm going to show you in this video. But I think that's not true. And I think that's not true mainly because people don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to actually do the work. They want somebody else to do it for them. They want this to be somebody else's problem. So there's always going to be an opportunity to do this work for people. Now, you might not be able to charge as much as people used to do it, and they might expect faster turnaround times, but you're basically just going to be using these tools to do the job faster and cheaper than you did before. And you can do this right now. And I think the gap right now is huge in terms of who's using these tools effectively and who is not. So if you jump in and do this right now, you have a huge advantage. So with that rant out of the way, let's continue. So the first one, like I said, is YouTube thumbnails. Now, this is using GPT 4o. So you can see what this guy's doing here, right? He took a picture of himself basically in front of his microphone. And he sketched this whole thing out, right? So he basically just opened like MS Paint, sketched out everything he wanted: high-tech bulky light, detector screen, lyre, church interior background, red, blue, green wires, evangelist, high-tech headband, right? And then it generated this thumbnail. Now, this is a very good thumbnail. I paid a lot of money for thumbnails in the past. I've paid over $150 for one thumbnail on YouTube. So I used to pay a lot for thumbnails. Now I mainly make them all myself, mainly because I don't want to pay that much money for them, to be honest, but I'm definitely going to start using 4o. In fact, I might make the thumbnail for this video using 4o. But in this example here, you can see he basically just sketched it out and it generated the image. So here's another example of somebody doing something very similar. They put out a sketch with a truck and, 60 million a year, generate a high quality thumbnail, 19 by 20 for YouTube, and it generated a pretty quality thumbnail. Again, this is pretty solid. And then the last example I'll show you here is somebody else doing the exact same thing, just basically a picture of them in their room. They put the words behind them, just sort of low quality, right? And just ask them to generate that thumbnail, and 4o does that for you. So just to show you how easy this is, I took a thumbnail of a video that I liked. I liked the idea of the way he did this thumbnail, day 1, day 7. Actually very good flow for this thumbnail. And I believe this had a lot of views. I don't remember exactly. And I put my face here and I said, create a new YouTube thumbnail using this first image as a reference, replace the face on the second image, replace 2 things on the side of the face with a basic website and a beautiful website for the before and after. So actually that was not a good example. So it was kind of cut off. I said, replace day 1 and day 2 with before and after and make it 1280 by 720 pixels with a 16 by 9 aspect ratio, and boom, it did it. So this guy isn't exactly me. So I could refine this further and actually put another picture of me, but it's pretty close. And some would say it's close enough. And that's a pretty good thumbnail, honestly. So if I wanted to make, something on like, redesigning your website using AI or something, I would use a thumbnail like this. And this is a pretty quality thumbnail. So something to, that you could do right now. And if I go to Fiverr, by the way, so one of the places you could do this is Fiverr. You could use Upwork. I've actually hired a lot of people straight from Twitter. So I'll go to Twitter. I'll see people doing cool stuff on Twitter and I'll just hire them right away. So you could boost a post on X, right? Twitter X, same thing, right? You could do a post, you could boost it. You could basically get some attention to that post. And when I say boost it, I mean promote the post in X, right? So you'd pay a little bit of money to promote a post, right? So if I go to one of my posts here, for example, I could actually promote this. You see the big promote button, right? I could promote it and actually get more people to see it. So something you could definitely do to get people to purchase your service, or just come over to Fiverr, right? Thumbnail design, create a gig here. You're going to have to start cheaper and work your way up, 15 to 40 40 to 65, above 65, right? And you can see that obviously the higher quality the thumbnail, the more people are going to charge. So I've paid like 10, 15 bucks for a thumbnail and they suck. They're just awful. So you're never going to get a good thumbnail for that price. So people expect to pay a decent amount for a good thumbnail. The best thumbnails I've gotten are the ones that were really expensive, but they were very expensive, right? So, even if you started doing this and just did 10, 20, let's say you started like $25 for a thumbnail, right? They go up to like 500 bucks. I've had quotes of up to $500 per thumbnail, and you could crank out a bunch of thumbnails using GPT-4o. Like, let's say every thumbnail you do, you could give them 4 revisions. You could do it in about 10 minutes. And so you could do, let's say you could do 5 thumbnail jobs per hour, right? You could be making $100 an hour making YouTube thumbnails. And again, I think this opportunity is right here, right now. And I don't think this is going to last forever. I think the gap is going to close soon. And there's also, 20 bucks a month you need to pay for GPT-4o, but this is an opportunity right now. So the second example I wanted to show you is a little bit more in depth. And as these go on, the examples are going to get better and better. So if you stick around to the end, you're going to see the best example that I think of a company right now you could build. Now, you can see that this guy built a game here. This is an indie game. It's called Indiana Bones. He built this in 22 days. He used Claude, Grok, Gemini. It's running on 3JS. He did character designs with Grok and all this. So he built a full game. So I actually loaded up the game here. Game works, 100% works. Pretty cool game. So yeah, it's not like the best game I've ever played in my life, but it's a cool little indie game that he's creating, right? And so you could actually take the time and build these indie games. And there's actually a few different ways you could market this, right? You could use AI tools to build these games. I have a whole other video on how to do that as well. So, go to my channel and look for that video on building 3D games. But essentially, you could come, basically vibe code a game like this, right? Or a similar game. Doesn't have to be this game. I'll show you another example. You could market it a few different ways. You could either sell ads in the game, or you could create games like this for other people, right? So you could market yourself as a game studio. You could go to Upwork, Fiverr, etc., and you could market yourself as a game studio and start building games for people. Or you could do what Levels.io does here, Peter Levels, who actually built fly.peter.com, and he's making $87,000 a month right now. And basically, this is his game. Game kind of, it's like a really basic little flyer game here. Nothing too out of this world, but you can see that he's got like these ad balloons in the game. So you can see the balloons here with like ads on them. They're kind of far away because I'm like really far in the game right now, but he sells these ads and he makes a lot of money selling these ads. I think he sells them for like a few $1,000s a month. So Peter is a big name on X, Twitter. So he's got like 600,000 followers. So you're not going to make as much as Peter, obviously, by just selling ads in your game, unless your game really blows up organically. However, there are people that have built smaller games. Like this guy built, I'll find one, I think it's called Vibe Sail. So he built like a little sailing game where you sail around. You can see there's a bunch of these vibe coded games right now. So yeah, it's this guy right here. He built this vibe sail game and he was selling ads here. And I think he got up to a few $1,000s a month just selling ads in his little sailing game that he built here. So you can see all the ads in the game. So, and again, he vibe coded this. So when I say vibe coded, I mean, he used AI to code this. So you have 2 different ways you could make money there, right? You could either create your own game and sell ads, or you could create a game studio and create games for other people. All right, so the third method and the third type of agency you can create here is an ad agency. And this is where I think it starts to get really exciting because, again, a lot of people are going to say, oh, I could do this myself, or I could have other people, I could go into GPT and do this myself or whatever. Who would hire me to do this? Again, the truth is nobody's going to want to have to go through the iterations and do the dirty work when they can hire somebody to do this, right? So you can see this ad this guy created here for a hat. This is a really good ad. This is an ad that you could run on Facebook. It's an ad you could run on Instagram. It's an ad you could run on TikTok. It's a very good ad, right? And if he animated this ad using like Runway or something, right, it could be even better. But it's a very good static ad, right? So if you had like, hydrophobic hats, right? And you put like 20% off or whatever, and $9.99 right now, whatever, and he ran these ads, he could actually make a lot of money. So there's a few ways you could play this, obviously, right? You could sell your own products, create your own ads, run those, and try to run your own e-commerce store, or you could work for other e-commerce stores or other types of businesses and create ads for them, right? And if you want to take this another step, you could actually do this and actually run the ads for them in Facebook, in Instagram, in all these different places, right? So you could actually go that extra step. So it's sort of up to you how far you want to take this. But what's really cool now with GPT-4o, like look how he did this. Headline, subline, product image 1, 2, 3, 4, hero image, focal point, feature icon, description, right? So the process for him is wireframe an ad template, provide GPT the details and brief, provide GPT the products, images, and inspiration, and generate the ad, right? And this is what he came up with. So extremely impressive ads. And this isn't the only one. I have actually a thread that I made here on X about this, but you can see that this ad here, I made a video on this earlier too. This ad's pretty amazing. This ad's really good. These are great ads. These are ads, again, that you can run on social media. You could run them as banner ads on websites. You could do this a bunch of different ways, right? So, again, you could sell these ads on Fiverr, on Upwork, right? You can, or you can just go and market yourself locally to local businesses. You could go around, knock on doors, make phone calls. I'm actually a big fan of cold calls, as crazy as that may sound. I've made a ton of money making cold calls in my day. And yeah, there's a ton of different ways you could sell ads like this. And again, this door is going to close pretty quickly. People are going to create really good apps to do this. But for right now, you could get this going and create a very, very big ad agency right now doing this. And you could sell a ton of different ads to a ton of different companies. You could do this very, very fast. So, and the really cool thing about this is you could tell people, hey, your first ad is free, right? Or something like that, where you could show them a demo ad and sort of pull them in, because it's so cheap and easy to make these ads now that you could create you could do like cold emails or cold phone call or something and say, hey, listen, I know you probably don't know who I am. Let me make you a free ad. Give me your email. I'm going to send it to you right now. Let me know what you think of this ad, right? And then get people to either, open that email, see that ad, or, whatever it may be, right? But you can do these for free right now, get them out there really quickly, and then get customers, get clients really, really fast for your agency. And again, if you want to take it to the next level, you could even use GPT, you could use Gemini, you could use a bunch of these tools to teach you how to actually run these ads on Facebook, Instagram, Google ads, whatever that next step is, right? TikTok ads, and actually help them, promote those ads as well. Right? So there's different levels to this, but you could easily make 10 grand a month doing this. You could make way more. You could make hundreds of thousands a month doing this if you scaled this up really quickly. You could build a huge agency very quickly doing this. And once you have that market share, the clients aren't going to easily jump around. Once they're comfortable with you, they're not going to jump around really quickly. That's the great thing about an agency. Once you build trust, it sticks around for a long time typically. They don't, I've had clients for over 10 years, right? If they like working with you, if you do a good job, if you're honest, if you charge an honest price, they'll work with you for a long time. All right, so the next opportunity that I see right now is with building landing pages. So this kind of comes to the ads, but it's a little bit more complex. And again, like I said, I'm building these up higher to be more and more complex and more of a good opportunity. So I put this video out on X today. This has been a pain point, and essentially what I showed you here is how using GPT-4o you can design and build landing pages really, really quickly. Okay. So in this example, you'll see what I did was I came into GPT-4o and I said, create a landing page for me. Create a landing page design for a mesothelioma law firm. It should have a contact form on the right, name, phone, email. It should have images on the left with a simple logo on top and have several trust badges and reviews below that. So I wanted to create a simple landing page. Now, why I think this is such a great opportunity. I've worked with a ton of different companies that do Google ads, Facebook ads, etc. So in the first example, I showed you the ads, right? So these are like ads you could run. Now, the next step is where do those ads lead you to, right? You need a landing page for this. Now, it could be like a Shopify landing page if you're selling a product. If you're selling a service, it's usually a contact form like this, a very simple contact form landing page. You want name, email, phone number. You want them to submit that as quickly as possible, right? Typically, there's trust badges, reviews, all that kind of good stuff, right? And there's a ton of different tools you can use right now, like Unbounce and all these kind of like landing page building websites, but they're always templates. They're never going to be amazing. They're never going to be really customized for your business. But using GPT-4o, I can actually create these landing page designs. So you can see if I keep playing this video, it created this landing page. Then I said, I gave it some more direction. I said, center the top logo, add the following text, have you or a loved one been diagnosed with mesothelioma? And then under the contact form, we have helped you recover $100 million. Now, the reason I'm using this example is because I worked with a mesothelioma law firm years ago. It was just a massive market. These guys were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on Google ads. So they had a huge ad spend and they wanted us to create 20 to 30 to 50 different landing pages, run like all these different types of Google ads and all this kind of crazy stuff. So they spent a lot of money on this marketing, right? And so we needed to crank out a ton of different landing pages for them and we needed to do it fast. So we'd have to hire designers and we'd, code them and it would take, a week or something to have them designed and coded. I literally had this design done in just a few minutes in GPT. It created a pretty solid design. I mean, pretty solid, right? It still needs a little bit of text on the bottom, but this is pretty solid. I then took this exact image, I ran it in Gemini 2.5 and it coded this full landing page for me. It coded the exact landing page. It's a little tiny bit different, a little bit of the text, and you could continue to work on this and tweak this more and more and more, but it coded the full landing page for me. So now we have a landing page with a contact form on the right, very simple, name, email, phone number, solid images. We could add text below it, etc. I could connect this to MailChimp. I could connect this to any number of different CRMs that are collecting these leads, whatever we want, right? The connecting is actually really, really simple. And then I can actually host this for free. This is actually an old developer I used to work with and a friend, Michael Cove. He actually put this out on X also, where he talks about Cloudflare, and he says you can host your static landing pages on Cloudflare for free. And he goes through this whole process. So essentially, you could have GPT-4o design them for you. You could have Gemini 2.5 or really, it could be Claude 3.7 Sonnet, a number of these, really good coding agents, but it would have to be one of the better ones, code it for you. And then you could host it for free on Cloudflare. You could go through this whole process. I could probably build 10 landing pages in the matter of like maybe an hour or two, right? I would have charged for 10 landing pages probably $10,000 to $20,000 for 10 landing pages. That's a ton of money, okay? And you can still charge, maybe not that much today, but you could still charge thousands and thousands of dollars. And I could do that all in one day. So the amount of money you could make doing this right now, working with companies, designing and developing landing pages, custom landing pages, not templates from Unbounce, and custom landing pages, right? Using GPT-4o to design them and then using these AI tools to code them, hosting them simply. If you wanted to take this to the next level, you could integrate, really good database tools and all that kind of stuff, right? Which again, AI could do for you. You could make a ton of money doing this, right? And if you actually went the next step and actually ran the ads for people, like we talked about, and actually created ads for people and put this all together, we're basically creating a full marketing agency where you create the ads, you create the landing pages, right? You do all the technical stuff, you run the ads for them. I mean, there is a ton of money to be made in this, right? Some clients will pay you $5,000, $10,000 a month for one client if you're running enough ads for them. So just a massive opportunity right now. And again, the more complex we get with this, the less people are going to want to get involved, right? Nobody wants to have to do all this work for themselves, right? They don't want to have to create the ads. They don't want to have to create, the campaigns. They don't want to have to create the landing pages and do all the technical work, right? They want somebody to do this for them. These AI tools are making that easier. So even though this process is going to get easier using AI, nobody's going to want to get their hands dirty. You're still going to have an opportunity. So you might not be able to charge as much as I was able to charge in 2018, for example, but at least right now, the opportunity still exists at a huge level and you could still charge tons and tons of money and make a lot of money doing this. Now, is there zero work involved? No, you still have to do work, right? I'm not saying this is a free money printer. You don't just press a button and it does all the work for you, but it's made your life a lot easier now. You have to work with a lot less, time with designers, developers. You basically have this whole team. You could have a one-man agency right now with no designers, no developers, and basically doing all the work yourself, and you could have 100 clients. I mean, just depending on how much work you want to do right now. And you could scale this to massive levels. So you can see where I'm going with all this, but I really think the opportunity is huge. All right, so the very last example I want to show you, and I saved this for last because I think it's really, really massive, and it's something that I think is so impressive, and it comes from a company called Creme Digital, started by this guy, Jacob Klug here. Really smart dude, and basically what he did is he decided that it's so easy to build MVPs right now for startups using AI, right? So I've made a video earlier, this month where I created a full basically MVP for an app using Cursor. I have a whole hour 45-minute tutorial. Check that out on my channel where I go through the whole process of building an app using Cursor, okay? That took me about 2 hours to build that MVP. So what he's doing right now is he's charging $9,500 for an MVP, and he's promising to deliver in 2 weeks. And he's saying there's limited spots. Now, I believe him that there's limited spots because you can't take on every single client, right? He has made hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this, and this just started in January. He had a post where he came out and basically said he made over $180,000 in 1 month doing this, okay? And you can see here that, these aren't the most technically complex apps in the world, right? I mean, he's not like, redefining what it means to create an app, right? These are apps that are pretty simple in a lot of ways, right? Sort of similar to what I built earlier. Maybe not that simple. I built that in a few hours, right? These are going to, he's saying it's going to take a few weeks, and he probably has a small team that's helping him do this, but he's coding everything way faster. So why this is such a good opportunity and why I think you can make a ton of money doing this right now. Number one, people, like I said, they don't want to get their hands dirty. So although you could code, people could come in, they could watch my video, they could do the 2-hour tutorial, they could code it themselves, they could install everything on their computer, they could run these servers. Nobody wants to do that. It is a tremendous amount of commitment to do that, right? So even though I put that video out there, I don't know how many views it got, like 6,000 views, whatever. That video, most people that watch it are never going to do that, right? Maybe 1 to 5 to maybe 10%. I would say that's a stretch. I'd probably say 1 to 5% of people are even going to attempt it. Maybe only 2% will ever actually get to the finish line. Maybe that's 1%, maybe that's less, right? So someone like Jacob coming in here and saying, hey, I'm going to help you build an MVP for your startup, okay? So a lot of people have startup ideas. I've been running an agency for a very long time now, maybe 10, 12 years. And my agency, the way it works is I basically tell people, we can do a lot of different things for you. I've sort of honed in on my agency and I don't do as many things as I used to do. But one of the main things I used to do was develop apps for people. And I ranked very high in Google for a local keyword for apps. It was Miami app developer. This was many years ago. And I had thousands of people contact me through email, phone, show up at my office and tell me their app ideas. A ton of these people had app ideas and they wanted to see it built out, right? But at the time, it would have taken me months and, $30, $50, $100,000 to build a lot of these apps. Nowadays, we can use these AI tools and we can go from idea to MVP, and an MVP is a minimum viable product. So basically a very simple version of an app. And just, he's saying 2 weeks here. Like I said, in my video, I did it in a few hours, which you can go watch right now. So you could do this very, very quickly. So you can take people's ideas and turn them into MVPs and charge people to do it. Now he's charging $9,500 and saying it's 2 weeks. You could charge less, right? And you could promise to do it in 1 week if you wanted to, right? Just depends how much stress you want to put on yourself to make these promises and these commitments. But essentially, you could go vibe code whatever you want, right? I showed you how to do that in that earlier video. Go check that out if you want to learn how to do that. And I'm going to put out another video where I make it even easier. I show you the new tools. Gemini 2.5, I think, is better than Sonnet 3.7. So I think it's an even better coding tool. I think Klein might even be better than Cursor. So I think if you use Klein, Gemini 2.5, you put all that together, you could code these things very, very quickly, and charge people to do it. So essentially, this is a massive opportunity right now. Again, I think this is going to shrink. I think a lot of people are going to start to flood this. But once you start to build a reputation, people want to work with you, right? So, once you get into the tech world, you build a reputation, people talk and they say, hey, he was able to build you an MVP for 10 grand in 2 weeks and it worked and it got you the funding you needed to get to the next step. I want to work with that guy, right? I don't want to take the risk of working with someone else who might not deliver on time, who might give me an inferior product. So they'll pay for that extra, amount to work with you, right? I've seen this in the agency world forever. People pay the premium to work with someone they know will get the job done. So this guy has proven that this opportunity is here right now. He's doing massive numbers. 180,000 in 1 month is massive. Most people will never make that in a year. Imagine doing that in 1 month, right? And basically, it's going to be mostly profit too, if you think about it, because you're not paying that much for developers because the AI is doing the development. And it's basically just sitting there and having AI code apps and then selling them to other people, right? And I'm simplifying this, obviously, but that's the gist of it. And so I should also mention he's using Lovable for this. So Lovable Dev is his preferred app to do this. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Lovable. I've used Lovable. It's pretty good. I think it's okay. I would prefer to do this on my own using Cursor, Klein, etc. But, if he's making it work with Lovable and he's doing these huge numbers and getting, and making all this money, then, maybe that's a great option, right? But there's so many options out there right now. So I wanted to bring this to you. I wanted to empower you to show you that you can use these AI tools to start companies, start agencies, start making money right now. So if you like this video, please give it a like. It really does help me out a lot. Subscribe to the channel if you want to learn more stuff like this. You want to learn how to use AI to make money, to get ahead. And please drop a comment. Let me know what you think. Do you think these opportunities are viable? Do you think you can do this? Please let me know.